Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
appreciate your endeavor, and I'm happy that you selected me to discuss, and I'm thankful to you and GSA both.
We are
Okay,
honored, sir, to
Oh, we
have
are
you.
honored, sir.
not,
We
We
are
are
honored
honored, sir.
actually.
not, not at
Yeah,
Yes,
all.
yeah, yeah,
sir.
yeah. Yeah. So, sir,
Pleasure
please
is
tell us.
mine. Yeah.
Yeah. So, sir, please tell us about how you got interested in how you started doing this, not only meditation, but how you started actually getting into neurology and neuroscience and all these things, sir.
Yeah. All right. So you got the biography, so I think we
Yes.
don't spend time on that. But
Yes.
it is a question of slightly paranormal science in the sense, at the age of 15 years, I had intuition, a kind of mental faculty where I visualized that I'll be a doctor, I'll be
Mm-hmm.
a neurologist, and I will do some research on science and spirituality and some occult aspects of the science. And
Uh-huh.
I'll try to make a bridge, and then I will write some papers and go abroad and do a lot of touring and some funny ideas in a child of 15 years age.
Oh my
I
God, at the
don't
age of
know
15.
where it came from. 1 5.
Oh,
To tell you in
oh
fact,
my God.
and then I was, that was, I think it was 74, 1974. Now you will be
Mm-hmm.
surprised to know that neurology was hardly existing then, and it was
Yes,
at
yes,
the
yes.
most, it was in infancy in India. All right.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
And the people in Gujarat would hardly know what is, I mean, neurology as a branch, etc., etc. So, but
Yes.
this kind of, you know, it was a clear vision that this would be. And I just tried to, repeatedly pursue that thought. And I, I mean, by imprinting that thought in the cosmic mind, I realized that, once you conceive something and start pursuing and, desire it from your heart, ultimately it
Right.
happens. This is what
Yeah.
was the story. Now,
Yes.
it may be really difficult for people of science to understand, but this is the way it was. This is the fact that happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
Without knowing what is neurology and what
Mm-hmm.
is the bridge between neurology and so this was how it started. And then uh, I got into medicine, say, let's say in 1974, the exam came. I passed and I entered into science, that is in Xavier's College. And
Mm-hmm.
in the examination of 1975, I scored very high marks, so I got into medicine.
Oh,
And
acha, acha.
so in 1976, I joined MBBS course, which was
Mm-hmm.
finished in 1980, October. Then after 1 year internship, I did MD medicine. But all the way back in my mind, I was very clear that I wanted to do neurology. So after my MD, uh, it is such a more than a coincidence that my teacher of MD medicine was then Dr. L.D. Joshi, who had just started neurology sub branch in Gujarat.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay, okay.
I was given the topic of electroencephalogram in epilepsy as my thesis topic, which I
Mm-hmm.
finished and submitted to Gujarat University. And I passed as first attempt in 1984. And then for 1 year and 2 months, I was running around in different parts of India, appearing for exams of DM neurology. But I was not qualified for some or other reason.
Mm-hmm.
So, despite my all caliber, my hard work and sincerity, and this much ambition, I could not get into the branch. However, During 1985 December, I got engaged to my wife. That time my fiancée. So, and it was all decided if I don't get into neurology now, I will have to start practice as medicine.
Right,
Now, why
right.
it is? Because at that point of time in India, there were only limited seats, 8 or 10 seats of neurology across India, total.
Mhm. Mhm.
So we had to appear in Mumbai, Chennai, Kolkata, Delhi, Chandigarh, except like and Bangalore, premier institutes. And what would happen? We will pass in the written examination, but during Viva was, for some or other reason, they would prefer their own local candidates. So it
Right,
was
right, right, right.
so, but to my great luck, or maybe my wife was lucky. So after my engagement, in February, I got a seat in Mumbai, which was left out.
Mhm.
Somebody took it left, another person took it left, and the third person left. And then, since I had already applied and appeared, they sent a call, and that's how. So after so many failures, ultimately I got into neuro.
Oh,
So,
right, 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 right,
uh,
right.
so coming back to your question, the original intrinsic desire to become a neurologist and to do some research was fulfilled by entering into neurology. Then I passed in 1990. I started my practice in 92, but somehow I wanted to study more, so wanted to do research and learn further methodology. So I applied for fellowship at Houston, and my teacher, Dr. Vadia, one of my mentors, he was very kind enough. So he, in one of the conferences, he mentioned to the guest, Dr. Frank Yatsu, that look, this is my boy, he is very good, and take him up. So I went to the USA in 1996. I had a short fellowship there. I learned some research methodology. Then I came back, started practice again. Then I went again in 1998 to Queen Square, our Mecca of neurology. There
Okay.
I studied with Professor Marsden, the giant of neurology, the ultimate guy. And so this is how I was exposed to international field, and I knew what is the real science, how is research done, what should be the depth of medicine, what should be the height of neurology, all these things. If I were here, I would have not understood that. But
Correct, correct, correct.
meeting with these giants and learning neurology in different, it made a lot of difference to me. So that's how uh, meeting people in Mumbai at various conferences created a burning desire that I should be a scientist of some level and a neurologist with a lot of scientific knowledge. And that opportunity was provided by the field of Bombay. And that's how then I went to all these places. I hope that answers your
Yes,
question.
sir, very much, very much. In
Yes, sir.
fact, it has answered so many things. We
Yeah,
got
Yes,
to
sir.
know. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I just wanted to say, sir, you got, I mean, at the age of 15 itself, you actually got into the stage where you knew what you wanted to do. So, sir, if I ask who could be behind that motivation, I mean, who could have motivated you, or something could have motivated you, or it was
yeah,
just your
yeah,
intuition?
yeah. You are right in a way. My father was a doctor, Dr.
Mhm.
V.J. Shah. We used to stay at Bharuch. My schooling from first to eighth standard was at Bharuch, South Gujarat.
Mhm.
And then after that, I went to the doctor in South Gujarat, very prominent person, a very godly, kind fellow, and he had an expertise in treating cases of paralysis. So,
Okay.
in my childhood days, I used to see patients suffering from hemiplegia and paraplegia. So maybe that was one of the seeds. But when I conceived this intuition, I was 15 and I was at Ahmedabad because in 1971, at the age of 12, I was here.
Okay.
Now, I had finished my first year and second year together, and I was the earliest guy in my school. So I had, in effect, saved 1.5 years. So you understand, by in the eighth standard, I should be 13 year, but I was 11 and half.
Oh, oh,
Okay.
okay, okay, okay.
So I'm still the youngest guy in my batch. So
Oh, oh, okay.
that's just a side way.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
one inspiration might have come from my father, whom I had seen till the age of 71 working with this kind of patients. And secondly, uh, my grandfather was also into occultism, and he had a lot of spiritual books, and he also knew some of the astrology and kind of stuff,
Okay,
which
okay, okay.
is a discussion between three of us, not four people. But he had prophesied that I would become a great personality in the field of medicine, and maybe I will either take up heart or something related to mind and nerves. At that time,
Mhm.
I might mention again there was nothing like neurology, but he
Right,
of
right, right.
somehow. So probably these two factors might have affected my subconscious mind. Maybe I'm
Right,
not sure.
right, right,
Right, sir.
right, sir. That is really, really. I mean, it is actually a very great thing, sir. Actually, because this runs in your sort of family, father,
Yeah,
grandfather.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that is
My
so.
daughters are also doctors. My elder daughter
Oh,
is a
okay.
neurologist.
Okay.
As a
Mm-hmm.
elder daughter is a neurologist, and she is also having a lot of accolades and gold medals. Anyway, so for me, as if I was designed for neurology and made for each other, something like that.
Oh,
Right.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah. Very
yeah,
interesting. Very
yeah.
interesting.
Hmm.
Yes,
I
yes,
had
yes,
no
yes.
other thought ever since my age of 15 that I would become
Mm-hmm.
this or that. I was very clear, and exactly that's how I did my neurology. Then I went to abroad. I did a lot of work with foreign people. I wrote books. Um, traveled across the globe, maybe 60, 70 countries, and I uh, profusely talked over, I gave several talks all over the world and did research on temporal lobe and memory and the subjects of fasting and meditation and whatnot. So, apart from my hardcore neurology work. So, this is
Mm-hmm.
all what I'm looking back. It was exactly what I had conceived.
Your
Is-
grandfather had said
Right.
also. Yes,
and
yes,
more
yes.
than that, at the age of 15, what I saw was this. So my
Mm-hmm.
uh, so anyway, so my grandfather didn't mention about the books or traveling
Yeah,
and
yeah,
this and
yes,
that,
yes,
but
yes.
the whole thing came up
Yeah.
like this. Yeah.
Yes, 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 yes.
So I don't know in a journal of science how would you mention this, but this is the fact. You
Yes,
might,
sir, yes, sir,
Right, sir.
yes. No, it's really very, very interesting, and people can
yeah,
get really motivated that right from childhood, if we start having passion, actually
yeah.
it is all but passion.
Right.
Passion is one thing, patience is second thing,
Yes,
and
yes, yes.
perseveration. Patience, why? Because I did not get for 1 year and 3 months in the subject.
Mm-hmm.
And perseverance because I tried and tried
Tried
and
and tried.
tried,
Yes,
Right,
yes,
sir.
yes,
and I
yes.
got into it.
Yes,
And
yes.
after all, destinies also. But I have seen, madam, if you really desire something from your heart and
Hmm.
you pursue, perseverate, and do hard work, ultimately that thing gets materialized. And this has happened to me n number of times. So
Yes.
Right,
I
sir.
think that is a great thing that would be, one should have a clarity of thought, and then one should continuously work upon it, hard work, sincerity,
Hmm. Hmm.
without any
Yes, yes,
adulteration. and
yes.
Right,
and
sir.
if you really imagine and live into that, it actually happens.
Right, sir.
Yeah, it is said no now it is so. I mean, people have started saying it that if you really want it, the whole universe
yeah,
conspires to make it happen.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
એ
yeah,
પેલા
yeah.
પિક્ચરમાં પેલો કહે છે ને શું નામ શાહરુખ ખાન પૂરી कायनात
हाँ,
लग जाती है
कायनात
वो
लग जाती है, वही बात है, वही
Right,
बात है.
sir.
That's
Yes,
what,
yes,
yeah.
yes, yes,
So
sir,
I
yes,
I
sir.
have I have experienced this quite a few number of times in my life. Okay,
Yes, sir.
so
Sir. So,
uh,
sir, actually, if we ask you who could have been your mentor and role models, could you
yeah.
name some?
Yeah, yeah, sure. In fact, I just got the question list a few minutes back, and I was thinking there are three people in India and three in abroad who have actually shaped my thinking as far as the science is concerned. So, my mentor is Dr. B.S. Singhal at Mumbai, Dr. N.H. Wadia, Padma Vibhushan, Dr. N.H. Wadia, Naushir Wadia,
Okay.
Mhm.
and, and my own father, who was a great doctor, a compassionate fellow, etc. From Vadia, I not only, all these people taught me science, but apart from that, Vadia taught me what is ethics and integrity,
Right.
right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Dr. Singhal taught me professionalism. What is professionalism? Academics is different thing, but when you are in a profession, you have to have professional behaviors. Okay.
Right.
My
Mhm.
father taught me compassion. Okay, Dr. Vijay Shah.
Yes.
Then if you take abroad, I was much impressed by Dr. Marsden at London, who was I could say high caliber scientific writing. He had
Mhm.
created voluminous books, and I used to take rounds with him in grand rounds, and I was so impressed. And he taught me the importance of management of time. If we have
Mhm.
time, we will discuss. There are three things he taught me. One is if you respect time, then only time will respect you.
Yeah. Yes,
Right.
yes,
Second
yes.
thing he taught me that Sudhir, do only those things which you only can do. Otherwise, delegate rest of the jobs to people,
Hmm.
pay
Hmm.
them off well, so that you save a lot of time. Giving
Yes,
an
Right.
yes.
example, if you have to travel for your workplace, say 30 minutes to and 30 minutes fro, or maybe two, three different places, then you keep a driver from day one.
Yes.
Scribble down your thoughts and write down your imagination, research, etc. While sitting at the back. And every day you save 1 hour, which over 32 years now has ended up into, quite, quite voluminous.
Voluminous. Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Literally,
that's what
sort
he
of
Right,
did.
sir.
experience.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
That is what he taught me, and that's what I did. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Right,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Yes, sir.
So
Yes,
that
sir.
is another.
Yeah.
Then third thing he said. So he said that when you pay out to your driver and when you create all this, the amount of fame and money and the recognition that you get is out of proportion.
Hmm.
10 times.
Right, sir.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
I used to have even MD doctor at my clinic from day one. Now that amounted lot to me, but at the end of day, I used to see 4, 5 patients more every day because he used to do some groundwork, and
Yes.
therefore, in the end of month, his salary was free for me, and I could see more patients. I could help more people. Okay.
Right, sir.
Hmm.
Third principle he gave me is that decide on whom to meet, why to meet, where to meet, how long to meet. Like if you have
Hmm.
to discuss something, you plan out properly why you want to meet this person.
Yeah.
This does
Yeah.
Right.
not apply to friends and family. For friends and family, no, there is no
Yeah. Yeah.
barrier.
Naturally. Yes.
Right.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
But don't allow reckless, useless entry of people into your life, intrude them, and then create a chaos. Go to a person whom you want to discuss some concept. Great people discuss ideas, he used to say.
Right, sir.
Mediocre people discuss events, and useless people discuss about the people.
Actually,
Right.
you
So,
are so right, sir. Yes, yes, very true, very true. Yes, yes.
so ultimately, what happened that I started talking to people with a very precision, how much time, what subject we are going to discuss, no FSR thing. So it has saved a lot of time for me, and that this teaching has come from Professor Marsden. There was
Hmm.
another professor, Simon Chorwan. He taught me high caliber scientific research.
Hmm. Hmm.
Marsden was a master of writing. Simon Sharma was master of research, how to do real research with integrity, with ethics, and all those things. So he taught me to do how he taught me research methodology. And Professor Yatsu, Frank Yatsu at London, at Houston, he was, my God, a man of such a kind, compassionate fabric. And the way he used to talk to patients and, explain the communication skill, you can say. Are you
Hmm.
able to
Hmm.
hear
Okay.
me?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
That was Dr. Simon Shorwan I was
Hmm.
mentioning.
Yes.
He and then Professor Yatsu, he taught me communication skill. So uh, all these are very important aspects of academician and a professionally important person. And luckily, I was exposed to all these guys.
Yes.
Dr. Singhal was a man of very few words, but
Okay.
he really taught me what is professionalism and communication skill by Dr. Yatsu. So that's how I got exposed to all these great people. Yeah,
Okay.
tell
Yeah.
me.
Sir, actually, you have already said that patience, perseverance, and passion pulled you along. But supposing if you had some failure, how did you deal with it, or what made you overcome it?
There were a lot of failures thereafter also, like uh, I would say that the philosophical background of my family and the spiritual
Mm-hmm.
background, as you might have noted in my biodata, we have housed a library of 9,000, 10,000 books in my own home. And my grandfather and his brother, they were spiritualist people. They have read lot of books of Jainism and Bhagavad
Mm-hmm.
Gita, Vedas, Puranas, Patanjali, Yoga Darshan, Shadran. So I was very lucky that I was exposed from the school days with all this. My one of the subjects in school was Sanskrit. So
Okay.
luckily, I got exposed to all these books in right in the ninth, 10th, 11th standard.
Okay,
And
okay.
my house where I live right now in 42 Jain Nagar, we used to have several saints and dignitaries from across Gujarat and India visiting my grandfather. So
Mm-hmm.
he was very popular in so right from saint like Ravi Shankar Maharaj to Shastri ji like Krishna Shankar Shastri, Dongreji Maharaj, then lot of different saints of Jainism, other they used to come home and like a child I would listen to their talks. Then we used to go to the contemporary experts of different field like Pandit Suklalji, Pandit Becharji, etc. So that's how in a child's mind between the age of 12 to 15, 16, lot of things got embedded.
Right, right,
So
right.
this philosophical base that failure and labha, labho, jaya, jaya, we should be equanimous. So And then I was uh, lucky to have got trained into meditation and things. So
Mm,
at so many times in life I had failures, but every time I could keep balance. I uh, passed my exams. I faced a lot of difficulties in Mumbai during my study because I was an outsider. So there were a lot of resistance from local people and harassments also. But still, I was so lucky that God was kind and I could get through everything. Even during my practice in initial years, because of the professional competition, etc., I was blocked by seniors at some places. But then, with the tenacity of my purpose and kindness in my heart, I was uh, able to navigate through all situations. Ultimately, people realize that this gentleman does not have any bad motive and he
yes,
is
yes,
here
yes.
to help. So that's how I could say that failures could be very nicely taken care of by the Almighty. And I had to just remain patient and I had to do little more work. Whenever I thought that I am falling back, I increase my work, I increase my sincerity, and I increase my compassion and truth. That is how I could do. At several times in research also, there were issues, but I mean, that's a part of life, and I could see that so many times failures taught me that look, if you had succeeded straight away, the quality of research would not be as great. But
Mm,
because
mm.
I failed, I had to refine, I go deeper, 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 and then whatever I brought up, that's the way I think one should look at it.
Right.
Yes, yes, yes. Very, very, very like a
Eh,
stepping stone to success. Failure is
Yeah,
stepping stone to success.
yeah. It is
Yeah,
all not that roses that I have seen. I
yeah,
have passed
correct,
through.
correct.
Right. Right. Right.
Right, sir.
Sometimes
Right.
I walk through fire also. Let me tell you.
Mm.
One example was that during my Prahlad Jani research, Mataji's research, best of luck. I had to face some of the rationalist people, and they said that I am promoting some kind of sex and religion and this and that, which was not the fact. I was trying to find out what is the truth, but ultimately uh, these people created a lot of noise on net and ruckus, etc. But to my good luck, Professor Abdul Kalam and the team of
Mm-hmm.
DRDO, they were all with me, and we
Oh,
could bring up the science in a very delicate form, and we could succeed. So, people have used me, abused me, did a lot of, wrong also. But, but that's the way people are. You can't change, everybody. But
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
if you are true to yourself, I have learned, madam, and even Harshal, I must tell you,
Ji,
if
sir.
if you have truth and compassion as your uh, most developed qualities in life,
Right, sir.
I think nothing can stop. Ultimate truth and ultimate compassion. These two things can drive a scientist. Uh, and when I say so, in any of my research, I did not have any personal motive. Well, I want to do this because I will get this. No.
Mm.
So
Right,
when
right, right.
my purpose was to help humanity. That's it. And
Right, sir.
with so that's how I could succeed in so many
Yes,
things.
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, yes. Sir, actually, I have learned today so much from you, but still,
Yes, sir.
what would you give your suggestions to students who are on the verge of taking up a career in science, What would be your advice, your suggestion, your views for that?
Um, Ma'am, actually, to my mind, every science begins with a philosophy, a
Hmm.
kind
Right.
of, uh, a kind of thought and a kind of philosophy behind that. And when it develops into science, ultimately it blends as an art into the society, a way of living ultimately.
Yeah.
Right.
So you should always be very clear about your goals of science. The money and fame are byproducts.
Hmm.
What
Right.
a student of science should aspire for is a quest for knowledge.
Right.
Wherever and whenever and however you can get the knowledge, you should get it. By knowledge, I don't mean information. Knowledge is a
Yeah. Yeah.
distilled information. And that knowledge should be ultimately transferred into an elixir of wisdom. So that is what a student of science should actually aim. And your only goal should be compassion to help people, ailing mankind. If as far as I'm concerned, I am very clear from the beginning on this. All this abundance that has fallen upon me, if you think that I am a little successful man or whatever I have got is just because of uh, appreciation and gratitude to people. I appreciate those who are working below me, with me, above me. And I am thankful to all of them who helped in my endeavor because in my certain projects there were at least 60, 70 people working at a time. And I'm very grateful to all of them. I acknowledge them at every place. So, uh, truth and compassion at the top with appreciation, gratitude at the middle, and acceptance of failure and broad mind. Just if I'm doing research on one subject, my knowledge should not be limited to that because that gives a narrow tunnel vision. If you have a broader base, if you know many related sciences
Right.
additionally, then you can really impart a meaningful science.
Right,
So
sir.
broad base is very important. And as I said, gaining knowledge from whatever, wherever source, that is the most important thing. And don't prefix your mind, don't adulterate the outcome. You just start with an open mind, and that is the real ethics of spirit, the ethics or spirit of science. Many people have preconceived outcomes and then they start with that. That is not the way. That is not science. That is adulteration.
Right.
So keep an open mind, do research, and accept whatever outcome that comes. And many times from that, lot of other discussions open up, avenues open up, and if you pursue one of them, you might get into a real big area. So when I'm saying so, a lot of things are passing through my mind. Why this telling so? Because during some of my research, my initial attention was on some aspect. Like I was doing some study on Shatabdan and memory. We got some different outcomes. But while analyzing the data and when we looked at these things, certain things were very catchy. And when I followed up that, my God, I entered into a real big area which I never thought. So
Right,
Hmm.
sir.
I accepted the outcome, I accepted the data and truth. But then if you analyze it properly and go into some other, multivariate analysis, etc., you tend to understand the God is or the super authority wants you to understand some other aspects of that particular research. So
Right,
I
sir.
think what I'm trying to tell. that we don't have to adulterate anything. Just follow ethically and see what comes through and accept, analyze, and then look from the different perspective. That would really make, to tell you very frankly, science is the future of mankind, and
Mm-hmm.
it is as pious as spirituality. Okay, there are only two pious things: spirituality and science.
Right.
Okay,
Yes.
and the science is the true spirit, not the science that many people want to propose it. The real science is a spirituality kind of, and therefore I'm most impressed with the both. Science and spirituality are not two different things. These are actually two coins of the same thing. Okay.
Right, sir.
Science looks outwards, spirituality looks inwards. Science searches matter, spirituality searches consciousness and God. Uh, Science has a different qualitative and other aspects, experiments and this and that. While this is spirituality is an experience-based science, but both are searching and both are searching truth. So there is no difference between the two. So
Yes. Yes.
this is the scientific temper. And
Right,
when
Yeah.
sir.
you really enter into depth of science, you have to touch spirituality. Yes, as Einstein used to tell, science is blind without religion, and religion is blind without science, something like that.
Yes. 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 Yes.
So that is what I experienced in my life. And science is the light that leads, it's the heat that warms us. So uh, and science does not have any country. It has no race, no religion. Yeah, that is why it is spiritual. It is
Yes.
Right, sir.
above race, religion, creed, caste, nation, any boundary. Therefore, science is very important. So, the student of science should know the spirit of science. Otherwise, just by learning science or the contemporary ways of teaching, that won't work. We have to go out of box and teach the spirit of science.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, that is being forgotten. And I think GSA can really play. Your question number 8, I'm reading, what role
Yes.
can GSA? GSA
Yes.
can really make a big difference. You know, a lot of seminars and webinars can be held at GSA on compassion, ethics, research methodology, okay,
Mm-hmm.
scientific temper, leadership quality, how to accept failure, how to write a paper, how to
Right.
read a paper.
Hmm.
Then there could be interdisciplinary conferences like neurology and let's say compassion, as for example. So
Right,
there are
sir.
a lot of interdisciplinary things that GSA can hold. We can make our group larger. We can make biannual members. We can make life members, and only selected people are made fellows. But the membership drive can be very important. Our affiliation to different universities, right from Gujarat University to all 70 universities of Gujarat, we can have some affiliation. And every month, we should have at least two scholars, one from India and one from abroad, giving talks.
Right,
And
sir.
the level of that talk should be that high that ultimately within 6 months, at least 1,000 people will be attending every time, and maybe more later. So
Right,
the
sir.
topmost people should be invited. Now that we have virtual webinar, luckily, so everybody is used to it. Again.
Right,
So
sir.
and out out of all, unless the person has passion, you know, that fellow is not for science.
Right.
So passion is not something you can, get into market or you can teach. That has to come from the people. It's
Right.
Yeah.
an inner call to some extent. But a good teacher can inspire people, the students to, uh,
Right, sir.
so
Yes.
this is how one should look into, different aspects. And the only aim of science or spirituality should be to help ailing humanity. welfare of everybody. Uh, yes, सर्वे सुखिनः सन्तु सर्वे सन्तु निरामया सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्. That is what should be the emblem of science as well as spiritual. Now, who teaches all these things in today's universities?
Right,
Nobody.
sir.
So I think we at GSA should take the lead of bringing back these values
Right, sir.
and culture also.
Right, sir.
Right, sir. Right, sir. Right,
Tell me.
sir. Actually, it has been really nice listening to you. I would say that we begin this top talks which you are saying by you only.
Right, sir.
Oh,
Every, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Correct,
yeah.
correct, sir. So
Yes,
this also shows that you are also giving a message to be humble as you can
mm,
to the students and to the
yes,
members. So
yes.
this is,
yes.
we will include it, and
Yeah, sure, sure.
sure,
And
sir.
I always tell my students about my failure also because
Right, sir.
I'm teaching at VS Hospital and other places. Right now, I have 9 students with me. So
Right,
I
sir.
tell them that nothing comes overnight. But positivity is most important. Be positive.
Right, sir.
Have team spirit. What I do them, I make 2 teams and give them different tasks, and I make a healthy competition between you. Now that really, gives them a lot of understanding. Yes, this competition makes them humble. Then they also try to make better than others. There is a elevation of knowledge and the hard work, sincerity. So healthy competition is one of the important ways. At least in medicine, I've seen that helps and works very well.
Right, sir.
But I always tell them to be as kind to patients and people as possible, and as truthful to uh, your own cell and others as possible.
Right,
So
sir.
all these things, they learn and they. Uh, I hope my students are doing well, and maybe in a year or so I'll retire from my medical college. But I have a passion that I will continue teaching them from uh, my own place.
Right, sir. Sir, just one last point I wanted to ask and mention that in addition to your knowledge, wisdom, humbleness, and your nature of helping to the people, you have also been awarded by Padma Shri
Padma
from
Shri, yes,
Government of India. So,
yes.
sir, would you like to say something about the contribution? Because we already read your contributions to the society. Can you, sir, just brief something about that as well?
Uh, See, uh, when they confer you with Padma Shri, they don't write that for this particular reason you have been awarded.
Right, sir.
Uh, आपके व्यक्तिगत गुणों के लिए हम आपको पद्मश्री से पुरस्कृत करते हैं. That is what they write.
Ji.
But when I asked after the ceremony was over, I went to, the commanding officers and all. And I said, on what ground? Because I did not apply for permission. It is what really made them think. So they gave this very complex process, and some people apply, some do lobbying, some do this, some do that. But apart from that, they have their own machinery. And in your case, it is there are a lot of things that was brought to their mind. One was my fundamental research on prolonged fasting and meditation. So the
Okay, okay.
research which brought India a great, I would say, pride, our meditation, our fasting. So foreign world abroad, they were now open with this because A Western mind is a closed mind as far as your meditation things were concerned those days. But this was very helpful. And then they did three films on my work, as I mentioned in my biodata. So
Right.
these three films were displayed in Cannes Film Festival, and they were screened in multiple theaters across the whole Europe and USA.
Right, sir.
So that was one thing. The research, which has tremendous potentiality, and I was working under the guidance of Professor APJ Abdul Kalam.
Okay.
And so this research has a lot of potentiality for astronauts, for long-term space travel, for the soldiers who are in deprived condition of ration, where gas and Kargil, sometimes the ration doesn't reach on time. But this reducing the calorie requirements of a human being, that subject is so fascinating that it is a far-fetching kind of application and implication.
Right, sir.
So one is the research. Second, the fame that was bestowed upon to our country, India, because of that. Third is my work on neurology, because I did lot of groundwork in Gujarat. In Gujarat, when I started neurology in 1990, there were hardly any gazettes and yeah. As for example, I started epilepsy surgery. I was instrumental. I was a team leader. Therefore, you can say that Sudhir, actually, is, I must give credit to my whole team that we started for the first time epilepsy surgery with telemetry. We did Parkinson surgery. We started with thrombolysis program, stroke care unit, lots of new things at the next, now we can boast at a national level that Gujarat Neuro is at par.
Right.
So because I was head of the institution in Stirling, I was head at the Municipal Medical College at the NHM, and I had a very great team, which were all given due accolades and points, and I used to appreciate and love them. Therefore, we all could create a lot of good. And then I wrote a lot of papers and publications. So second was the neurology itself, where we contributed a lot for the Gujarat. Third thing, I think he was mentioning that for the poor and ailing, I gave royalty of my all books for the poor people. I uh, had a chance of treating these great saints. For more than 5,000 saints were treated by me so far, and I
Okay.
had their blessing. So I was lucky that I could treat in a single life so many saints without taking single farthing. Okay,
Right.
so people watch from a distance. The word spreads.
Right.
So, so they must have felt that this fellow is doing very genuine work without any, you know, uh, personal motive. And then the public education activity, I wrote certain books because neurology is one subject where people are almost blinded for blood pressure, diabetes, heart, asthma. You will get plenty of material. But for neurology, you will not get any accountable standard material. So right way back in 1998, I wrote books in Gujarati, then Hindi, then English, and then about 60, 70,000, 70,000 copies by now have been sold by. And that created a lot of, stir in the society. People became aware of neurological disease. They started coming early to the neurologist. So diseases were diagnosed early, treated well, and the outcome was well. I gave lots of talk on TV and media and radio and wrote in newspapers and journals because it's my another passion to enlighten people. As I mentioned, knowledge, get the knowledge and spread the knowledge.
Spread knowledge, right?
Right.
So I was instrumental in, and now my daughter has joined in writing books. So all these things might be, responsible in, but they never mentioned that for this particular reason. So
Right, sir.
In view of my contribution to society at large, in terms of elevating neurology, doing research, getting honor to the country, serving the poor and disabled, donating philanthropic, aspects, and serving the saints and other things. So maybe multiple.
Right, sir. Right, sir.
But the echo behind all this is truth and compassion, nothing else,
Right, sir.
and knowledge.
Right,
So everything ultimately revolves around the whole. If you want to describe my character, it would be quest for knowledge, gaining knowledge and spread of knowledge, truth,
right, sir.
compassion,
Yeah.
and love for humanity. That's it. And from whichever angle you see, the same thing will probably come.
Right,
But I'm
right,
really grateful to my masters who really taught me the ethics, high caliber research,
right, sir.
and time management and team building, etc. Without which, I don't think I could have done the kind of work that I did. So I simply bow down to all of them because of them, including my father and my grandfather, that I am able to, achieve something.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So we are, sir, thankful to you, and we are very fortunate, sir, that you have joined
No,
with us today and you have shared the insights on science, education, society, and the most important thing is to be truth, compassionate, and humble. So thank you so much, sir, from Gujarat Science Academy,
thank you,
for
and
joining us.
very
Thank you
nice
so
of
much,
you
sir.
that you spent